What is your destiny? What if I told you that you could design your destiny to live the life that you truly want to live? Stay tuned because we're going to be talking about that in just a moment. Hi there. I am Lynda Sunshine West. I'm the founder and CEO of Action Takers Publishing, and I'm excited to introduce to you one of the authors in our book, The Book I Read, Volume 2, which is Stories of Transformation. Talia Zamora, she's one of our authors, and she has written her chapter titled, let me see, I'm getting it here, Destiny by Design, Claiming Control Over Life's Path. And so, Talia, why don't you just take a moment to introduce yourself, and then let's talk about like what you do and what your chapter means.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much, Lynda. It's lovely to be here. So I'm Talia Zamora. I am a coach, predominantly working with families and business women, and those people that are from families with neurodivergence of some kind, whether that's autism or ADHD or other challenges that come under that umbrella. And I saw this opportunity to write a chapter, and I'm excited for the release of this book.
Yeah, I'm loving the stories in this book because this particular book, again, it's the book I read. This book is all about the transformations that the authors received from reading a book. And so it's not a book report, it's not a book review or anything like that. It's really about that transformation. And that's why I love reading about people's transformation, because it helps me to see that, I can do this too. This is something that I've gone through and I can relate to that person. So that's what I really love about this particular book. But before we get going, can you explain to us, because you explained some examples of neurodivergent, but can you explain to us, like, what is neurodivergent? Because I've had some people tell me I'm neurodivergent, but I'm like, I don't know what that means. So I don't know if is that a compliment or not. you know?
Well, it is a compliment in a way, because it's saying that you're different and that you're unique for a particular reason, and they're picking up on something. So if you're a neurodivergent person, what comes under that kind of what you might call a spectrum or an umbrella is anything from dyslexia to dyspraxia to dyscalculia to autism to ADHD, to Tourette's to OCD. There's lots of different things that come under the umbrella of it, and
Okay.
those people just have quirky differences, and they use their brains in a different way. They're slightly wired in a different way. They'll have traits that you can pick up on, and obviously somebody has picked up on that in you, that you work and function in a slightly different way.
Boy, do I. I know that to be true. And for so many years, I avoided it and hid from it. And it was actually what made me kind of like crawl into myself and not be out there in the public, because I had such a tremendous fear of judgment, right? So when I did these weird things, or I was called weird all the time. And that was, you're so weird. And it was said in a negative way. And so it really made me like really, again, just crawl deep within myself. So how does,
Shame.
do you have any ideas, like approximately? Now, this is not a rocket science question. Before we went live here, she goes, "Don't ask me any rocket science questions." This is just like, do you have any idea, like, what percentage of people are neurodivergent? Because as you listed all those different traits, like, I know a lot of those people.
So it's interesting that you say that, because myself and my son, who is he's 15 and he's autistic, he also feels like he's ADHD, but the doctor that diagnosed him said that he wasn't. So he often kind of deep dives into watching little videos and reading stuff on autism and ADHD. But then he also, the other day we were talking and I said to him, I want to meet a neurotypical person. Can you find one for me? So we were listing all these people we know. We're thinking, no, 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 no. And we realized actually that there's so many that we know that actually the percentage must be really high, because we know they say there's about a 10% of the population are autistic, but then we were talking and we're thinking, okay, so 10% is really low, so let's have a look to see how many are neurodivergent, and we found that actually 37% of people are neurotypical. So actually the majority of this planet are neurodivergent, and I should have dug a little bit deeper to find out how much of that percentage of people don't actually know that they are neurodivergent and haven't actually tapped into their their special interest or their skill set that actually they're probably not even aware of. So it is interesting to to
Yeah.
start looking at the stats.
Yeah, I
That's
think it's a blessing. Really,
yeah.
once once I started believing it, and believing in myself that this is good, this is not a bad thing to be this way, then I see it as like the tremendous blessings that it has. And I think that's important for us to realize, is because I think I can't stand the term neurodivergent. It just makes
Okay.
me feel like there's something wrong. That's
Yeah,
my
yeah.
own perception. But and it's something that causes that, like, what does that mean? So I guess it's good in a way because it has you want to dive into it, but I feel like there could be a better term that's just kinder. I don't know.
Yes. No, I'm with you there, because I am actually not a particularly big fan of the word autism, because we used to use Asperger's and autism, and
Mhm.
in the UK we use Asperger's less and less now. They've opted to use autism as a wider scope, and I actually feel like it's kind of confusing in the same way as you're feeling that with neurodivergence. I feel like neurodivergence is useful, especially if you've got more than one thing going on. And it's a shame that it comes across negative, but I do understand the way you feel about it. Yeah, and in many ways, I'm hoping in the future that there'll be other words that we can use,
Yeah.
so we feel a little bit more understanding, and under and the understanding to be not so maybe hostile. That it's easy, it's simple, easy, that it's actually not such a big deal. That there's so many of us that have got slight differences, and that's okay.
Right. And as you mentioned, you said about 37% are neurotypical, meaning that they're not neurodivergent, which means that we are the vast majority. And
Yes.
so, yeah, let's pick an empowering term. We'll figure that out later. That won't happen today. But if you're listening and you have an empowering term for neurodivergence, drop it in the comments because we want to
Oh,
hear
that would
what
be
that
great.
is.
I'd love to
Wouldn't that
read
be
that.
cool?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to
Yes.
hear other people's perception, and some of you may be, neurotypical, and some of
Yeah.
you are neurodivergent. I guess we get two
We get
sections
two
there.
sides, and
We
there's
got
bound to be neurotypical people that live with neurodivergent people. So yeah, they'll have a different perspective. And there's a lot of people out there that were diagnosed later in life, or like yourself, not quite sure yet. And there's
yeah,
a big kind of change for them in terms of identity and understanding themselves. And those are the kind of people that really interest me. That that feeling of what now, and to be able to help them
yeah.
to unpick that, I think is really valuable.
I think that's a big piece there. That what now? Because you are a neurodivergent business and family coach, and what does that exactly mean? What do you do with people? How do you help them?
So I first started out helping people, predominantly women, with their businesses. So especially women that are young in their business, only like let's say 2-3 years, because quite often we start businesses and don't necessarily have the foundation set, that we haven't got things in place such as databases and email marketing or websites or our LinkedIn profiles, all that kind of stuff. You can just dive into doing your business and not necessarily deal with the nitty gritty. So quite often somebody will get to hit a wall around 2 years, think, oh, what do I do now? How do I grow this? How do I get bigger? How do I bring in more clients? How have I even got time to do this? So I predominantly help them with that aspect of processes and strategies to help them to get control of their business, find a balance, because you can get to a point of burnout too, that you're running on adrenaline, and suddenly that adrenaline runs out and you kind of hit a wall. So I want to help people avoid that and help them to do it in an easy way, in a simple way. So I really enjoy working with women in particular that they're running solo businesses, and to help them to kind of get past those hurdles and not to burn out. But then the family side of it is that quite a lot of those women have got neurodivergent kids at home, or they are neurodivergent themselves. So I help them build their business around their family and make it realistic and find a balance
Mm,
to be able to do the two. And I also have clients that are not in business at all, but they have young children or parents, or there's like multi levels of neurodivergence in the family. So I help them to communicate better with each other and through the challenges that some parents have with younger kids, understanding how to communicate with them, understanding their traits and why they're doing particular things and why their behavior is different from other kids and what they can do differently to complement that child, and to support them in school, for instance. So
mhm.
yeah, there's lots involved, but also it can be really simple when you talk through and understand. Oh, I just make it a little tweak and do it slightly differently than the normal typical family would, and things are going to be easier for me and my family at home.
That's awesome. I love it. I was chuckling over here when you were mentioning about the first couple years. Mine was the first 6 years, by
Oh
the
yeah,
way.
no,
Just like
that's kind of normal.
flailing around because having
Mm,
that guidance, and especially because I think because of the way I think I am easily distracted. I have that squirrel syndrome, and I get as like, oh, that'll be fun, oh, that'll, and I find myself very easily distracted, and I have to catch myself. Now I'm getting better at that because I'm training myself to recognize it. But when I first started my business, oh my gosh, I came out of the gate from corporate. I was in corporate for 36 years and I had 49 jobs. And when I left that last job
wow.
to become an entrepreneur, I started 7 businesses all at one time.
Oh, well, I can
Yeah.
see. I'm hearing about your neurodivergence now.
Yeah, it's all over the place. It's all over the place. Well, and here's the thing, nobody could tell me I couldn't do that. And the reason was because I had been, as my like self-described, like caged up for 51 years. And now that the cage was open, I was free reign. So it wasn't the best way to go, but it was necessary for me to go through that in order to get to where I am today. It's like I had to go through that.
Mm,
And I'm so grateful that I did it the way I did. And just like Frank Sinatra says, I did it my way. I had
love
to
that.
I had to do it my way, because if I had just done what everybody else told me to do, then I wouldn't have learned what I've learned. In addition, I would have been doing what I've been doing for 51 years, doing what everybody else told me to do. I needed to learn
Mm,
how to, step up for myself, speak out for myself, have my own opinion, and really just like accept the fact that I fail on my own and I succeed on my own as well. As far as like
yeah.
I'm steering the ship. So anyway, that's just a little snippet into my life.
No, it's interesting. Yeah, and I think it's not unusual either that you get to a certain stage in life and you think,
Yeah.
actually, I need to do it my way. So
Yeah.
yeah, good for you. That's
And some
great.
of us are later and some of us are earlier. And there's no
Yeah.
right. That's the thing, is there's no right time. I mean, there's no time. It's no prescribed time, I mean. But the right time is your time. And I think a lot of times when we get older, we think that, oh, I'm too old to start something new. But that's what I say. It's
Mm,
like, no, you're never too old to start something new, because your life can
exactly.
completely transform when you make a decision to do something. It's
Yeah.
simple. And oh my gosh, it's been 10 years and I am on the funnest journey of my entire life. Like, it's been amazing. So anyway, we're not here to talk about me. We're here to talk. I got myself
But
off track there.
it's wonderful that you get to that certain point and it becomes fun and you find your groove
Oh my
and
gosh.
you just kind of become quite proud of what you've achieved, I hope, and
Yep.
realize that actually, yeah, look at me, I'm running a business or two or three or six, and yeah, it's quite an achievement, but it does take time. But the fact that you have got all that experience, those years of working in industry, that is huge in terms of your capabilities. So I think it really
Right. Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned that, because when I first left the corporate world, I literally wanted to leave like I wanted to sever that from my
mm,
entire brain. But as I'm doing like what I'm doing now with the publishing, I realized that all those skills that I learned on that job, I'm using them all, like those various jobs, I'm using them in what I'm doing today. And so those were crucial for the success
Yes,
of our publishing
definitely.
company. And I tried to like say, I am not that, you know what I mean? Like I wanted to leave all of that behind. And I'm so glad that I finally came around. I came
Yeah,
around.
I completely understand that because I tried to do the same. It's like, no, I'm not gonna, I don't relate to that anymore. But actually,
Yeah.
you realize later how much it has contributed and supported you
Yeah.
running your own business and the
Yeah.
skills that you bring from it.
Yeah, definitely. Now,
Valuable.
I love what you do. I think it's so important because the sooner those of us who are neurodivergent can first of all, make a discovery that that is, I mean, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing. But then to learn
Absolutely.
how to tap into the goodness of it. And that sounds like something that you can help people to do that. But then also how to apply that in the real world, how to apply that in your family, in your business,
Mm.
maybe you're working a job. Like, how do I apply this in the best way to make the most of it for myself and then those in my life? And that's how I interpret what you're doing. Did I get that at all right?
Yeah, you got that right. Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, it is. It's all about how you connect with other people and how you use your own skills, tap into your own personality, understand that part of it. A lot of people that are neurodivergent will mask and they will mirror and try and fit in with others, and that can be really quite exhausting for them. Yeah. So understanding that about yourself, giving yourself breaks in between, and not having, let's say, 4 family busy days of celebrations or anniversaries, for example, knowing that yourself that that's going to be really exhausting because you're trying to fit in with others and not necessarily able to be with yourself all the time. It's a shame that that's what happens, but it also being self-aware to take care of yourself is really important too.
Yeah. I
Um,
love how you shared that because um, I was one of the greatest people pleasers. I would
mm,
make sure that I was following suit of everybody. And just like you said, it was exhausting. And it wasn't until I realized that I don't have to be a people pleaser, in order for people to like me. And that was actually a big lesson for me to learn is that by me being me, like people will like me or not, and either way it's okay because I just need to show up as myself. And that was when I was able to go to go to events and stuff like that. And it's kind of interesting because I didn't even realize it until just now when you mentioned that. But I go to events and I get lit up instead of drained. Like I used to be drained, but the difference now is that I'm showing up as me and I'm not trying to please anybody. I'm not trying to be molded into what I think they want me to be. And now I get energized. It's
yeah.
an amazing difference. Like just like you mentioned, once you know who you are and you show up as
Also,
that
one of the
person.
other reasons is you've met your people. You've connected with your
Yes.
people that you actually really appreciate, and their energy that they have is kind of aligned with yours, and you feel comfortable with them. So,
Yeah.
whereas perhaps if you were in a room full of maybe 20-something-year-olds that have all just graduated, they're not necessarily your people, and the energy that it takes for you to be there and show up and you know have conversation is not going to be as easy as some of the events that you are going to with your people.
Oh, that's a
So,
great point too. Oh, you got lots of great points. Okay. Which is good, right? That's important. Like one things I like to say is that, if you know who you want to be surrounded by, go where they are. Like it's
exactly.
it's so
Yes.
simple, but yet oftentimes we find ourselves back in the situations like we allow
Like you did with
ourselves
the corporate world.
yeah,
And I
like
did the same. Keep on going
49
back. Keep on.
times.
Yeah, I I didn't do it 49 times, but I did stay in the corporate world for years, and I was
Mhm.
working in business improvement, which is great because it's helped me as a business coach. But it wasn't really something that lit me up. And the people that I worked with, it was a challenge for me to be with them and work with them because they really weren't my kind of people. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it makes such a difference when you find people that you can connect with.
Yeah, it's a just these huge discoveries. Like there's so much more we could talk about on that. What I want to do is I want to switch gears. We're going to talk about the book, the book I read, Stories of Transformation. This is volume 2. Go get volume 1 also because they're both incredible books. And in this particular book, well, first of all, you can get your copy plus free gifts from our authors at actiontakerspublishing.com/TBIR, which stands for The Book I Read, TBIR. Go over there and get those free gifts. And also once, when the book is available, we'll reach out to you to let you know how you can purchase a copy of it. Now, in this particular book, Talia, your chapter is titled Destiny by Design, Claiming Control Over Life's Path. Why don't you share with us, like, what does that title mean? And what is the book that you read that created that transformation for you?
Okay, so the title, it comes from really your own inner strength and taking control of your life and being able to believe in yourself and to follow your path. Very similar to what we were just talking about, in the sense that, once you find yourself, you have your own identity and you find your own people and you're comfortable with what you do and there's joy in what you do, then it becomes easier. So that destiny is yours for the taking, and you can design it the way you want it to be. And quite often we'd start our journeys at the beginning of our life not really knowing what we want to do or which journey we want to take or which path, and we can potentially follow family or take advice from friends and not necessarily know what it is internally that we want, and it takes time. So this book has helped me in terms of claiming that control and realizing that actually, if you have a little faith, you can achieve what you want to achieve. And I read it quite a few years ago, not realizing that the strength of it until now, until I've been asked to write about it, and it's kind of brought the story out for me and helped me realize how much it made an impact on me and how much it stayed with me. One of the things I mentioned about The Alchemist in the chapter that I wrote is that actually a lot of books, especially because of my own memory, because I have dyslexia and I don't have the greatest of memories. So when I read books, I love them and I can remember the title of them and remember that I loved it and really enjoyed it and recommend it to others. But I don't necessarily remember the detail of it and why I enjoyed it. And this one in particular has stayed with me. And that the essence of it really make an impact. And it's definitely something that I've appreciated year on year. In the sense, so the story is essentially about a boy that is a shepherd, and it doesn't really say the year, but it actually does make you feel like it's come from years ago. And he is on a journey to find his own legacy, is the word they use in the book. And on that journey, he is trying to decide what he wants from his life. And the reason he's chosen to be a shepherd is because he wants to travel. So when he's a shepherd, he gets to move from one place to another and meet new people, and sell the wool from off the sheep's back. And on that journey, he gets to connect with different people and have different experiences. But he does get to a point where he thinks, oh, maybe this is not for me. Maybe I want something else from life. And he has a dream, and he starts following his dream, and it's to find treasure. So, and during the book, we understand his lessons that he's learning and what he's experiencing, and the love that he has for people, and the mistakes he makes as well on the way, and what he appreciates about those mistakes for himself, and what holds him back and what helps him to progress. So it's wonderful to read. It's really heartwarming that he survives certain challenges, and then I won't spoil the end, because it's very tempting to say a big part of that book and what happens. But it's definitely worth a read, just to come away feeling, oh, yeah, that's really motivating. Something that I can learn from, something that there's real messages in there that I can take away and I can put into my own life and take more control over my own destiny. So I love it for that, the simplicity, really, that it's not overly complicated, and it's very heartwarming and encouraging.
That's awesome. I have not read the book. I've heard about it. And so, thank you for bringing it to us, to talk about. And I didn't know anything about what the book was about. So thanks for sharing that little story of that. If you have
Yeah.
read The Alchemist, go ahead and drop a Alchemist in the chat, or share with us, like, what was one of the pieces of that book that transformed your life. Go ahead and share that in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. And both Natalia and I will get back to you if you put any comments in the chat there, or in the comments there. So with that said, ladies, we can, let me see, we're going to drop from there. So Talia, people can reach you at taliazamora.com. And if they head over to your website, what are they going to find over there?
So you'll find about me and my history, and be able to understand the service that I provide and how I work one-to-one with clients. You'll see a number of different testimonials, so you get a bit of an understanding of what they've walked away from with, the benefits they've experienced. You'll also see I do a weekly or monthly articles and blogs, so you'll see them on there. There's lots of tips on life's little challenges and things that you can improve within your life and your business. Lots of that on there. And then you'll also see various other things like my awards that I've received over time, and the networks that I am part of. So yeah, you'll get to get a full picture.
Awesome. So head on over to taliazamora.com. And then if you want to get a copy of the book I read, go to actiontakerspublishing.com/TBIR. That's TBIR. Look forward to seeing what you think about the book I read. Do you have a book that you've read that has transformed your life? Watch for volume 3, because this is going to be an ongoing book that we're going to keep on going with series. I'm really excited about it. I love the idea of this one. Talia, thanks for being part of this book and being part of my life, and sharing your message, your story in this particular book and other books to come. Do you have any final words for our listeners here, viewers?
Just to say, if you've got a story to share, then Lynda's a great person to connect with, and I think it's a great way to do something short and easy. Whereas it's really good to be able to share a story in such a nice, succinct way with other people. So I really appreciate being able to share my story.
Thank you so much again for being part of this, and stick around. We got some people that have something they want to share with you.
You took the overwhelm out of the whole entire process. You said you set the guidelines, you said how many words to have. And it's like, once I sat down and started typing, it just all came out so quickly and so easily. And I loved it. And I had fear to write. And I know about that. I know about that blockage within myself, but it just was so amazing how easy the process was working with Action Takers Publishing.
This opportunity came out of nowhere, but it brought so much to my life, just knowing you guys and just meeting with all the authors. But to be able to put my story out there, and just it's like one of these things where you start doing it, you can't stop. So I'm going to be in the next book. It's just the whole process is easy. You feel support, and it's just like being #1 seller. It just feels amazing.